Hey yo, welcome one, welcome all. I am so excited to be kind of back here. So I am super excited to kind of like kick off a new series that's focused on some things I want to talk about. And I'm going to be focusing mainly on, first of all, the name of the thing is like Trini Zone Reacts, right? And I'm going to be reacting to different things that's taking place in society right now, because to me, this is one of the most interesting times I have seen in so many years. So I definitely, I just feel the need to really dive into these topics, right? One of the things that I also deem important to talk about is the role of AI in our lives. Now, and not just give it from a general perspective, but the perspective of a Christian, right? Somebody that loves the Lord, loves Jesus Christ endlessly, right? So, and also to speak on this topic from two other Christians that may be watching as well too, because I don't think a lot of people in the Christian community spend a lot of time thinking about AI, talking about AI in the sense of, I need to understand it. They mostly speak about it from the perspective of, oh, I'm going to stay away from this thing because it's so evil. It's going to destroy the world, blah, 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 blah. And anyone that's using AI is going to... Meanwhile, these same people are the ones who have helped bring AI to life, because they're the ones using Facebook and such the most. I don't think people understand that AI is here because of the stuff we've all done on Facebook. Every post we've made, every Twitter, every photo you've shared, everything you've already contributed to the progress of AI. Whenever you said you enjoy something that you whatever, you are the reason why AI is also here. You are also the reason why AI is here. So this is why I feel like most of the times when Christians speak these things, they're just talking from a place of complete ignorance. They have no idea their role in things and what they've done to already perpetuate this issue. And because they don't know their footprint, their digital footprint, and they don't understand the impact of their very own digital footprint, they're not able to take effective action against or for any particular cause, because you're just blind. Like the blind leading the blind. You're just like, oh yeah, well, we don't know anything and we think that we're just gonna pray it away. Well, okay. So this is why I think we need to have like at least literate conversations about these topics so that we can make informed decisions. And one of the areas I think that we really need to dive into, that's very important, is how do we raise our kids in the age of AI, right? Because no matter how much time you spend on your knees praying, no matter how much you call from heaven the flame of fire, your kids have to go to school the next day, right? And they have to go to school in a world that is most likely advancing at such a rate that they're gonna have to do things to keep up, right? And if we don't set proper guardrails, right, we're not going to create space for whatever we deem important. We're not even going to know how to create that space or when we even should, right? So this is why discourse, clear, legible discourse, is very important, and it shouldn't be dismissed because of fear and fear mongering and people who just spewing ignorance, right? At least you need to talk about your next day. Like, what do you mean, right? So I think I want to start off by watching, and this one is a relatively long video, And I'm not going to be doing like short bits, like I'm into really discovering this topic as deeply as we need to. So as you can see, this is a 45-minute one. So we're just going to be here for some time. We're going to cover it. I'm going to cover it, post it up, and we're going to watch it together, right? So let's react.
This was me 2 decades ago as a student. But these days, according to a 2024 survey conducted in the US, 26% of teens aged 13 to 17 use the AI chatbot ChatGPT for their schoolwork, a twofold spike from 2023. Is anyone doing their own homework anymore? There is no similar study done in Singapore, which is why Talking Point has launched a nationwide survey. We reached out to students aged 15 to 25 from secondary schools all the way to institutes of higher learning. With AI chatbots literally at their fingertips, I want to find out if our students are actually doing their homework and what the consequences are if they're letting AI take over. Before I can find out what students are using AI for, I need to know what kind of AI tools they have at their disposal. So I'm tapping on this expert. Hey friend, what are the best AI tools for English homework?
1. ChatGPT, that's me.
Own self recommend own self.
Grammarly, Quillbot, WordTune, DeepL Write, Google Bard.
What about math?
Photomath, Desmos, Symbolab, Microsoft Math Solver,
Science.
Wolfram Alpha, Khan Academy, KimBuddy, Labster, The Pocket Lab,
History and social studies.
Perplexity AI, Google Scholar, ChatGPT.
Can't you do everything yourself?
Great question. While ChatGPT, can certainly help with a wide variety of tasks, other AI tools often specialize in specific tasks that I might not handle.
So like, this is where I think in this regard, I don't think AI is necessarily too dangerous. Like, I like that it can source good tools for you across like an expansive amounts of data just really quickly, to find something that might best suit you, what you're trying to accomplish, right? So that's really useful from a research perspective.
Handle as perfectly or efficiently in certain situations. Some AI tools like Photomath or Wolfram Alpha are specifically designed to handle complex mathematical calculations.
So there's clearly
there's AI, for those of you who don't really understand what's taking place, there's like AI for specialized services. So while most people know about ChatGPT, there's like a host of other services that exist, and you can use these different AI services to accomplish different things. So like, okay, maybe you want an AI for music, or an AI that helps specifically with writing grammar, or an AI that helps specifically with doing a particular task. You can utilize AI in that regard, right? So ChatGPT is just saying, hey, you can use all of these, but I can do generally everything as well too.
Wealth of AI tools that students can tap on for their homework. But how much are these tools actually being used? The results of Talking Point's survey are in. All of the respondents in our survey said that they use AI for their homework. And 84% of the youngest learners, those currently in secondary school, use AI for their homework at least once a week. Which is why I've recruited these secondary school students. They're cluing me in on how deeply AI is shaping their grades.
So this assignment was to write about a time that you regretted.
Did you write it all yourself?
No. So here was mainly where I used AI for. I recall cautiously stepping on the wet blades along grass, a lot of synonyms and writing a more in-depth answer. Beforehand, what I wrote was I stepped onto the long, muddy grass. But I felt like it's not the way I wanted to sound, so using AI, I would say make this more in-depth.
Yeah, it's definitely more descriptive, right?
Exactly.
Usually I use AI to help generate points for my English composition. If I feel I'm really stuck, I would just get ChatGPT.
So this, I'll pause here to react to this portion because I feel like that is, it seems harmless, right? Okay, this kid, he wrote a sentence that he wanted it to be presented a certain way, right? And he used AI to expand upon his thoughts. Now, that's fine, of course. But I guess what we would want typically, right? And this is not me saying this is what is better or worse, right? I am just throwing the thought out there that perhaps what we want the kid to actually do is understand why he wants it to sound differently, right? We kind of want him to understand the fundamentals of constructing proper sentences or articulating your viewpoint in a certain way to achieve a certain outcome. Or can AI just keep doing this for everyone? Then the question is like, okay, does it even matter that he understands why or not if the AI will always be there, right? So it's like, which skill or which do you value more? Do you value not having to waste the time to even care? And if so, what does that mean for the future? If that's the case, then wouldn't it be more efficient to constantly just use AI for all of it? And it kind of leads to, well, do we really need humans to continue to perpetuate certain kinds of work, right? I mean, in a long shot, but I'm thinking that this is kind of what most people feel about AI being used by their kids.
To list out some ideas just to get the brain juices flowing.
And how would you do that?
So, for example, this assignment, people can only be happy if they feel they are treated fairly. Do you agree? First, I'll analyze the question. It's an argumentative question. You agree or you disagree?
I like the concept of using argumentative questions because it forces the child to consider and think and process. You know what I'm saying? So even if they're using AI, if the AI is always spitting out, no matter what, some form of an argumentative question, then they're always forced to process it themselves after, right? So I can see some sort of system being built around that thought process that becomes the standard of learning alongside AI in education. That would make, that to me seems a bit plausible or an achievable outcome.
Disagree. So
what would that look like to you as a parent in your home, right? You would probably, as the parent, because think about this as well, like it even means that parent can homeschool better, right? Like you can decide to say, hey, is this what you're struggling with in school? And then you use, as a parent, you use AI to learn the topic so that you can better assist your child, right? So if you as the parent, you would probably be wanting to say, okay, if you are as a parent teaching your child at home how to use AI, you'd probably want to constantly present it in this manner. I'm thinking this is probably one of the healthiest ways to do it for what I've seen.
say I agree with the question. I'll ask ChatGPT to give me a list of reasons that people only feel happy when they are treated fairly.
It seems like you don't write everything on your own.
Yeah, of course.
But do you feel like there's any wrong in using AI for homework?
No, I do use it for mother tongue, which is Malay. So it's sort of similar to how I used for both English and geography, but it's how our teacher has actually taught us to do it.
So your teachers know that you use AI for
Yeah,
homework?
of course. Yeah, they are encouraging us to use AI. So they are telling us how to do it and how we should go about using it.
So usually I'll pick out the one.
Okay, so this one is about, this school is actually encouraging the use of AI.
That I feel is easiest to elaborate on, and then like the composition. My English teacher, she often encourages us to generate ideas for composition and put it in point form because she wants us to really think with the points that are being generated.
There you go. You see, so that's what I was saying. I truly believe. By the way, I haven't watched these videos, but that's what I was saying. I think is the healthiest, right? Like, you have to. I think what's going to happen with education is like courses have to evolve in a manner where you're constantly querying a deeper introspection. It's no longer about you just getting the answer. You have to be able to to think and express those thoughts. But we as teachers, or not me as we, but as a parent who's trying to teach a child or something, right? You're gonna have to know how to tell that your child has really thought this through, right? So you need a process of establishing this.
And then elaborate from there. So it's still essentially our own work.
How do you use AI for your homework?
So I use AI to generate answers for my homework when I don't really want to waste my time or waste my effort on it.
Okay.
So we'll actually do this one.
Your Chinese homework.
Yeah, actually asking us to fill in the blanks, which is, I would say, pretty simple. But I also have a lot of these blanks, which I do not want to waste my time on these answers.
Okay, so it's about efficiency.
Yeah, efficiency.
Which one can make
so
it
I want to do this
faster?
quickly. So we'll screenshot this and then we'll put it into ChatGPT, upload the file here. Then give me answers, please.
Please, yes. Here are the correct answers to fill in the blanks. Oh, it knows. So let's move on to math.
We have this worksheet right here. I find math quite hard, so I don't even really bother. I'm gonna take a photo of it and I'm gonna send it.
Okay. So when you do get your answers, you actually put it on?
Yeah.
Okay. Do your teachers know that you use AI for homework?
Yeah, they know.
do?
They know. For Chinese, there was this one time a guy used AI to generate an open-ended passage, the answers to the passage. The teacher was like, I can see that this is AI.
How do
It's
they
very
know?
clear. There's already AI detectors.
Are there any rules that the teachers or school implement when using AI?
Actually, they don't give any rules.
There's no strict rules against it, more of just slight discouragement against using it entirely for your answers.
Let's say someone copies from AI wholesale. Any instances where someone was caught?
I've heard of teachers trying to take their students' response and putting it to AI. Hey, was this me in AI? But caught, I wouldn't say caught. They do give us a heads up. Hey, I hope you're not using it to give you answers, but using it to help you build on your answers. Our school is not really too uptight about it.
Well, definitely not copying wholesale.
The teachers will be able to tell.
I would say yes, because most people, they have a specific writing style. The teachers can definitely notice the discrepancies.
Do you feel like you learn something by using?
That's not entirely true, because I think there was a paper somewhere. We'll probably have to go through that in another video, but I think 92% of teachers were not even able to detect some AI generated pieces. But I think if you have a very small scale school, and it's a close-knit group and you really know your students, I think of course maybe that's a bit better, but I think that does not work at scale. And I think what we're trying to get, I think that what we need to get at here is an at-scale solution to say that, okay, this is the new standard of how we operate and educate AI kids alongside AI.
Using an AI tool.
I don't feel that I learned something because it gives me a different perspective, which ChatGPT does give very good points. I definitely would not have thought of before. In terms of content, my English comprehension marks has definitely improved.
I'd say I'm doing a lot better. English, I've come to learn to be more descriptive, thinking in ways I never would have thought of before.
Do you think you learn anything from using AI for your homework?
No, not really. Like, it doesn't really help me with my studies, but it helps me like get it done. Yeah.
It may not come as a surprise that our kids are using AI to help them with their assignments. But what surprised me is that teachers know about it. And they do let the kids use such tools, though they advise against relying on it entirely. AI tools became more mainstream in the last decade. Have our schools developed clear protocols for their use? Jonathan Sim has been leading the charge to embrace proper AI use in schools. I have been speaking to some secondary school students about their use of AI in their homework. And I'm honestly quite surprised at how much AI they use for their work. So I want to understand, is there any sort of guidelines put in place for teachers on how they get their students to use AI?
To my knowledge, there isn't any very strong, clear guidance across the board. Part
And there we go.
of it has to do with the sentiment on the ground with the teachers. It's actually a big, broad spectrum. Like on one end, you have some teachers who are very excited. They want to encourage their students to use AI. On the other end of the spectrum, you also have some who are like, don't know how to deal with it. Let's just pretend it doesn't exist. And then there are some small minority who are like, oh, AI is bad, you know, and they're going on witch hunts. Yeah.
What sort of guidance do you think is important?
Minimally, we should make clear how much AI should be used. I discovered this thing called the AI assessment scale. It's done by a couple of academics outside of Singapore. It helps to clarify all these ambiguities and grey areas about AI use. So what this does is that we tell the students that for this particular assignment, how much or how little AI you can use.
Now, that's fine. But I'm telling you, you have to have a verifiable way of quantifying usage. How are they doing that? We have to quantify this. We can't just be like, oh, well, you know, don't use it for this and don't, you can't, bro, they're just going to, come on, kids they're just going to do whatever they want to do. That's what they're going to do. So how are there has to be a way to say, okay, we know how much AI you've used, right? So
there are 5 levels. At the lowest level, we can say no AI. Why? Because we want the students to acquire something very, very basic, something very fundamental. So
but don't let me push back on it. It's still really it's a good first step. I feel really nice about a framework like this. In fact, after this video, I'll probably have to like dive into it myself to see what it's like and what it's about. But this is all very new stuff. So like, you know, we're kind of like figuring out how to live as humans.
to do it themselves. So if the AI helps in any way, they're not going to learn that. At the second level, we have AI-assisted idea generation and structuring. So we can say, okay, maybe you want to write about this thing, but you're not too familiar with the subject. So you can use this to expand your horizons.
So this would be when the teachers tell the students to use AI to brainstorm ideas for their composition?
Yes, that's right. We tell the student, okay, after you have talked to the AI to get all these ideas, you write the essay, but then you also share the conversation that you have with the AI so that we can see the evidence.
All right.
The next level that we have is AI-assisted editing. If our focus is not on developing grammar, but rather on writing in a certain style, then we can say, okay, you can use the AI to assist you in the editing so that you can concentrate on how do you format, how do you structure the report. The next level is this thing that we call AI task completion, human evaluation. So they use the AI to complete something, But the main learning objective is to exercise the evaluative judgment. How do you judge the work? Is it good? Is it bad? Where do you want improvements to be made?
So would this be when they use AI to rewrite certain lines so that it's more poetic or to expand their vocabulary?
Yes, so this exercise actually helps the students to start to develop an eye on what is like good communication, good writing, poetry. What's a touching analogy or something that they can use?
They also learn from
Yes.
what the AI is generating.
That's right. And of course, the last level is full AI. We can say, okay, you can use any and every AI tool at your disposal, full creativity, really just go and have fun with it. This will teach them mastery and also to develop their eye. What is good AI used to put together?
I think this plan has some. I think it's an interesting
is
idea.
Is this already implemented in secondary schools, for example?
Well, I know some secondary schools that are using it, but this is not something that's put across the board at the moment. Minimally, we should make clear how much AI should be used, and we should also be clear with our students what they can achieve by doing the assignment. Because one thing AI has done is that it has actually taken away a lot of the motivation for learning. So what's the point in doing this? What's the point in learning this, right?
That's what I was just saying. If the AI, for example, if the AI, if that same student who created the sentence earlier that he didn't know what to say, right? He just used AI to enhance his creativity or made that sentence more beautiful. What is the point of even having a human who needs to ask that question? What's the point when the AI is already there, right? So I think that's kind of what we're getting at, or what I'm trying to get at. Like, but also I feel like the answer to that question or the placement of that is far beyond just AI education and whatnot. That's a fundamental question to AI. So it's not something that we're going to tackle in this video, but it's still like a question to ask, and it will always be asked no matter what part of human society and AI we're talking about.
I could take the shortcut.
We actually met this student who showed us how she can very easily just snap and upload her assignment to generate answers. So it feels to me like AI was doing her homework for her. She wasn't doing any work at all.
Did she get caught?
According to her, the teachers can also sort of have a sense on whether they do use AI or not. And her teacher does run their homework through an AI detector.
Well, there's no good measure that's out there. There are some people who say, I can look at this piece of writing and I can tell who used an AI. And there are also, all these AI detection tools that claim to be 99%.
But they're not. There's already AI systems that can fool AI detection systems. So those are not reliable. As I said before, those are not reliable ways of determining, or I can tell that the student is using AI or whatever.
Accurate, but actually, truth be told, they're all very, very fallible and prone to mistakes.
Yep.
Don't just take it from me. Why don't you maybe get an AI written sample and a human written sample and put it to the test?
Okay, challenge accepted. I'm putting AI detectors to the sword. This is a typical composition question for Secondary 4 students. I roped in my producer, who's chilling at home, to attempt the question with nothing but AI. Meanwhile, I'm responding to the same question with nothing but my brain juice. Time to assess our work for AI use. All right, Jonathan.
Hello.
You have our compositions. I worked very hard on mine,
Okay.
while my producer didn't do any work. He just used AI for his completely. He was basically the lazy student.
I see.
All right, so let's see what you can detect.
Okay, so we're going to use two different AI detectors. They are very popular and well known. Let's start with the first one by Dean.
I think it will be quite obvious that he used AI.
There we go, 74% here, AI generated. And then if we put in through another AI detector,
0% AI? That is a lie! He didn't do anything! How is that possible? But that's a big
Let me guess, it
difference, though.
failed?
74 and 0%?
Yes, that's how
How?
unreliable it is.
Yo.
Do you want to see how your
Let's
work
see.
comes out? Yeah.
Yes, okay. I feel like mine will be quite obvious that it's written by a human, just based on how I wrote it.
So we start first with GPT-0, and it comes up to 100% AI generated.
What?
Are you sure you didn't use AI?
Jonathan, I promise you, he saw me write it. I promise you, I was writing it all by myself. I put a lot of work into this.
Well, let's see how it turns out on
Yeah, welcome,
the other
welcome.
AI detector. 0%.
Wait, I'm so confused.
Yeah.
So who do I trust?
So I think the biggest concern is really trust between the teacher and the student.
And there we go. That's what I say. We need verifiable learning platforms. We need to be able to trust and track and trace what is being learnt. It's the only way. But I guess we can just ignore it.
Imagine the student writes like us and it gets constantly flagged. It's not just one teacher saying, hey, do you use AI? But let's say 5 teachers that say, hey, I think you use AI. That's going to affect the student and the student's motivation to learn.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It hurts your confidence. It doesn't make you feel like your effort was appreciated. Do teachers understand that these tools are unreliable?
No, we still have a problem where many teachers are still asking, how can we detect? How can we detect? But the truth of the matter is, we can't.
Okay, so the AI detection tools don't work. Does that mean that teachers have to try and detect AI themselves?
One thing that we do as educators,
That's an even worse idea. But it's not as bad as an idea as she might have thought. Because again, as I said, teachers have the closest proximity to the student. So they would know the student better than anyone else. So they're the best hope at detecting AI usage. The only other way, right, is you prescribe these students accounts by which that is the only way they have AI access. Thus, you can track their AI usage. But good luck doing that without a federally secure law that gives you the power to do stuff like that.
we do have a sense maybe something is not right, like, you know, the students' writing quality has been like this, and then suddenly, wow, then we can have a conversation with the student, you know, and say, what led you to write it like this? But other than that, you know, we're very fallible. We can't. We can't. In fact, if you like, I have a little quiz. I have here 3 writing samples. At least 1 is written by a human, and at least 1 is written by an AI. Can you tell?
I want to say A is written by a human, B and C are AI.
So,
Final answer.
drum roll.
Yes, drum roll.
It turns out that A is AI, B is also AI,
Okay.
C is actually written by a human.
I am just like the platform.
Man, I wish I had done the test. I was changing Micah's hat, but I think I may have been able to find it.
No better.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Only because I've been using AI so long, I can pretty much tell by its keywords, but it's not easy. And trust, I'm by no means saying that I am the perfect AI detector, because I most likely will be as bad as most people, but I'm above like a certain threshold for sure.
So rather than waste a lot of time and effort playing this cat and mouse game with all these AI advancements, we need to really rethink how we engage our students, motivate them to want to learn with us, and also how to use the AI not to replace, but to enhance the learning process.
The learning process. It has 2 critical components. The first, formative assessments, like homework. These are spread throughout a period of study to help students learn, practice, and master a subject matter. The second, summative assessments, such as exams. These are dished out at the end of the period of study to evaluate if a student has learned and how much. According to this study, conducted more than a decade ago, over the course of 15 years, any amount of time a student spent on homework would have a positive effect on their exam results. That was before AI chatbots entered the market. Now that students are turning to AI to assist with their homework, will it affect their grades? I'm setting up an experiment. These secondary 4 students are my subjects. Step 1, a homework assignment. I've given them 3 social studies questions designed for secondary 4 students. They need to carry out research to craft their answers to the questions. They're allowed to use any AI tool they want in any way they desire to complete the assignment. How's it going?
It's going good.
You are so calm and collected. I love it. It's the end of step 1. How challenging did you find the assignment?
I think it was quite easy.
It was all right.
It was quite easy.
Do you remember anything that you wrote?
Not really.
Little bit.
What did you learn? Did you learn anything from doing this assignment?
I don't remember anything I just wrote.
Step 2, a closed book test to see if they retain and apply anything they learned from their homework. I'm closing the book on my experiment. Hands down. Now, to send these off for marking. Helping me grade the papers is Leah Tan. She's a specialist in humanities for secondary school students. All right, let's take a look at the results of the experiment.
Okay.
We'll start with the assignment first. Let's see how they did. All right, let's take a look at the results of the experiment.
Actually, Wei Zhang and Faith didn't do very well.
Ah, okay.
But Claire got full marks.
Full marks?
Yes, full
Wow.
marks.
Claire, what I noticed is that she would also be reading, understanding.
The way that she structured her points, she developed her ideas, it's very systematic. And it's very obvious that she exercised discernment with regards to how she's processing the information. On the other hand, we see Wei Zhang's work here, and you'll notice that he didn't fully answer the question. So perhaps understanding was not perfect.
Okay. And for Faith,
I could see that she might have felt too anxious about the time limit and she couldn't deliver. She neglected the other 2 sections.
it's interesting that you said that their test answers were not fully developed, because after the research assignment, I asked them if they learned anything at all, and they were struggling to remember.
It's pretty obvious here that ultimately having the child use AI with discernment to really understand the information rather than just vomiting it out. It's important and not have it become a crutch in our intellect and in terms of our cognitive processes.
There you go. And that is, I guess that's fundamentally my point. This is what society and humanity and everybody under the sun now has to figure out how to contend with. How can we stop this from impairing our intellect and keep it as something that supports us rather than overtakes us, right? Now, that's if we even want to keep it at all, because it's not like if AI has to go in this direction, you know. If enough of us cared, right now we could be raising our voices and saying we don't want AI to do certain things. and we would be forcing our local leaderships, lobbying against certain sorts of AI education. But it seems like nobody cares to even do anything. Just sit back and hope that somehow it all plays out right, and somebody else somewhere else does something, and that has led to many disastrous things in human history. It always takes at least one rebel to get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
I'd like to know just how AI might interact or interfere with our brains during homework. Lee Neng has spent the past 9 years studying what might be going on in our minds when we are learning. I'm showing him how our 3 subjects used AI for their homework.
One of the things that I noticed about how the students were using GenAI here is that at least Claire seemed to demonstrate a little bit more intentional thought. When she saw all the output that was given by GenAI, she didn't just take it all. She read through and decided on, hey, this point seems to be the most important, and asked GenAI to continue elaborating on a particular point. The 2 students, on the other hand, seem to look at all the output and seem to come to the conclusion like everything seems to be important, and just took it as it is and elaborated on everything at the same time. I think the difference between them is demonstrating evaluative judgment. Like Claire seemed to exhibit, whereas the 2 students didn't.
So why is it important?
One of the points of education is for us to learn to develop this ability to actually judge whether work in that particular domain is actually good quality work or not. That's what we call evaluative judgments. Learn how to think with AI and not just let AI think for them. This is easy to say, but it's quite hard to do because students are time-starved. Letting AI think for you is the easiest pathway of least resistance.
Yo, that is so funny. I just made a post on Facebook saying humans take the path of least resistance. So if you sitting there watching this thing, people are sitting there watching this thing. We need to take this more seriously than the way we are right now. We're too sit back. Like, yes, we know whatever, and not just not just like I think the general public, even Christians need to take this more seriously. Like, as Christians, there's no way that we couldn't be advocating for things right now. This is where the church, where else is the church supposed to stand up? At what point is the church supposed to do something? Is the church supposed to say something after it all takes place? Like when does the church opinions supposed to be inserted into public discourse? These are the things that are interesting to me, because there are the most pressing issues in humanity is where you find the church the most silent. But everybody want to go pray. Everybody want to just go to church on Sunday. Everybody just want to do whatever, right? But where will humans come into contact with the power of God, with the wisdom of God? How are they going to see that what you're offering truly is a better, or even not even an alternative, is the way forward, right? How are they going to know if there's no discourse because you don't understand what to even say? How? This is why I think that we need to raise our literacy so that not only can we protect our young ones, but we can also start inserting ourselves into public discourse and make sure that the system goes the way of God.
Right?
Some of the students said that their homework is difficult, so they're using AI to eliminate the hard part.
That's precisely the point, right?
Okay.
Learning is difficult and challenging. Psychologists call this whole idea productive struggle. Think about our brain like a muscle. If you're doing an exercise that is too light for you, you're using, for example, the weight of a pencil, you can do lots of reps, but then it's probably not going to have much of an effect. What you want is to have a good amount of weight that will cause you to struggle somewhat and the right frequency as well. I think one of the big issues at this moment of time is if the students are just using AI and it's going around this difficulty, when they do that, they're able to produce an output that, as far as the teacher can tell, shows that they actually understood the material. And this is harmful for everybody. The student feels that I need to pretend all the time that I know, right? And what happens is now they have to go back to relying on AI to
This is really cool.
produce work, which then perpetuates this illusion. And the teacher is also operating under an illusion like, I'm doing such a great job, all my students are all learning so well. At some point, the illusion is going to break, right? And that creates, unfortunately, huge amounts of stress and anxiety for the individual student.
Besides the illusion of learning, some AI tools are also known to project the illusion of fact. According to an OpenAI technical report released in April 20...
That's called hallucinations. That's when the AI, it believes that it's telling the truth, but it just speaks confidently on nonsense. And that's the solution that we've been trying to solve, that Origin Trail's been trying to solve, or the Origin Trail team and community.
2025, newer models of ChatGPT are more prone to hallucinations compared to older models. But just how much will these tools trip up on secondary school subjects?
I reckon secondary school subjects at that level, not much, because most of the information it already knows probably at that level. So it's gonna be good, but I think it would confidently hallucinate at higher levels of education. But you know, well, I guess we'll find out.
I'm running them through
Let's see if even I'm wrong.
the ringer. Alright, so I'm looking for a set of books called 10-Year Series, which had all the past O-level papers, and this is what I used to prep for my O-levels. Oh, okay, I need to breathe because I'm getting a bit of PTSD from being all around the 10-Year Series. Okay, I'm ready. Let's go study. I'll be feeding questions from these books to the top AI tool recommended by ChatGPT for each subject, starting with ChatGPT itself for English. Math, physics and chemistry with Wolfram. And finally, history and social studies using Perplexity. We are done! Now to find out if putting all these questions through a machine will give me top marks.
I think so.
I've asked these educators to assess the quality of my...
Honestly, I really think it's gonna destroy this and do absolutely well. I think so. I don't think it's gonna like, we'll see. I just have a strong confidence that it will do well because it's just it's known resources. There's a lot of resources and access to that level of information.
My work. Well, not quite mine, but they don't know that yet.
I don't think it's gonna get much wrong.
I'm about to discover my grades.
Hi Muna, I'm done with your papers.
Okay, let's go.
Let's see.
How did I do for my papers? Let's start with math first.
It's actually not bad. You got 62 out of 90.
That's not that
I
good.
got a B3.
Oh, no. Well, there's one thing here. LLMs don't necessarily perform well at math and crunching numbers and stuff like that. So that is to be expected.
I used to get an A, so this is not what I expected.
Let's see what the others do.
There are many careless mistakes. Okay, there are some formulas that you have used wrongly. This one, you have got the front part of it correct, but it's not really written with the correct formula, and that's why you actually derived the wrong answer. I think there was a lack of understanding how to derive the height of the cone. This question, you forgot to put a negative or positive in front of the actual numerical value.
All of that makes sense.
As well as you have to show your working, because in the exam, if you get the right answer but you do not have a working, they can actually mark you wrong for that.
Okay, all right. So maybe we move on to chemistry. How did I do?
So you've got
Let's see.
45.5 out of 75.
So that means the AI is performing even worse than I suspect. And that's knowledge that these kids are going to be taking, and they're going to be taking that as fact. Like, oh, the AI gave me this. It has to be correct. You know what I'm saying? This shows how alarming this even is, that most of our kids are using this technology and they can be getting hallucinated answers and not even know, because they're not even in the position to judge that, hey, this information is potentially good, it's potentially bad. They don't even know. They wouldn't even know.
So that's a B4.
This is all wrong. Why is that?
And this is completely wrong. The solutions given, the actual compound is wrong. It did not even hit close to the mark. You're missing a lot of the keywords.
Right.
So you can see this, you have to be very specific as to how much concentration of the acid. And for this one, you have to tell me what kind of energy it has to be. And when you talk about collisions, you have to describe to me how is this collision like. This part is actually missing a lot of details. This diagram that you have showed is different from the ideal setup. But even so, you can see that this part, it doesn't have a stopper, which means that the gas that's produced will be able to just flow out to the atmosphere. And if you look at this question, I don't see any working at all.
So let's move on. How did I do for my physics?
Let's see. I didn't think about like the crunching of formulas and stuff like that. AI isn't doing that.
How did I do for my physics?
An F.
Really?
Okay, that's bad.
How is that possible?
So in physics, again, just like in chemistry, it is also looking out for certain keywords. I don't see any of the keywords in this. For the drawing of diagrams, the arrows are all pointed wrongly. And even the working, I think the formula used is wrong. Here, I see a lack of working as well.
That's a lot of wrong answers.
Yeah.
So, tell me, how did I fare for my English?
It was a D7.
That's not too good.
Mainly it was because you didn't really capture what the questions wanted.
Okay, history.
C6.
Only?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, your answers were completely, perfectly logical, right? They didn't capture the idea of having cross-referencing, which is a skill that the examiners really want.
Okay, let's take a look at social studies then. What is my grade?
So
Social studies,
I actually have one issue with these results. And it's because prompting matters with the AI. So for example, we would have to know what prompt she put in and how did she prompt the AI to think about the solution or the issues to know how it decided to answer. I don't know if I missed that part in the video, but the prompt matters. So while this may not be a very good representative of if AI can do well or not, but we'll take it at face value.
Unfortunately, it was also a C6.
Oh.
Yeah. Once again.
But fundamentally, I guess it is actually still good because that's how most regular people and children will use it, right? They're just gonna, they may not even know how to prompt correctly. So they're just gonna put their questions in there and say, hey, answer this for me. So in that regard, I actually, you know what? This is probably more accurate than you would think.
Questions like these, cross-referencing is a must. In order to even pass the question, because we're lacking in concrete examples. You need to really elaborate and quote.
I do have to tell you something though.
Yes.
I used AI for all of them.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Everything was AI. It didn't come from me at all. Yeah. These are the grades that I scored for these subjects when I gave AI free rein.
Fail physics. Man.
With AI so prone
That's
to
dangerous.
mistakes, I'll need to look for some.
And also this issue is also being solved right now. So it's not like if the future models will come with these kind of hallucinations too deep into it. So it's gonna get better and better and better and better. So in my opinion, I feel like harping on that side of things is a very, don't get me wrong, it's important, but it's the somewhat of the easiest part of this thing to solve. The real problem is the taking away of our human intelligence and substituting that with, artificial intelligence and how it limits kids from maximizing their potential.
Some remedies and safeguards against them. Which is what Danish Lekowski offers his students as a generative AI lecturer. I scanned a bunch of O-level exam papers into AI tools and I got the worst results of my life.
How did you even use AI to solve any of these papers? What did you do?
I snapped a photo of the questions, uploaded it, and then just copied whatever responses were generated.
Okay. So there's a few things that could have gone wrong. When you were snapping it with your phone, if you're a little shaky, a lot of the words, the numbers, the diagrams could have been very blurred. So the AI might not even know what it was looking at. Another thing is that if you were just telling AI to solve it, it didn't expect or know that you needed those workings as well. It just
Bro, I just said this. I said the prompt matters. How you'd instruct the AI matters. And he's literally diving and telling her right now that you may not even have used the tool right. but that's my point, right? That's the entire point that I'm trying to bring out. Like, that test itself is a bit too open-ended to say that this is definitively a proper representation of how AI would whatever. But I did give it some credence in the sense that that's probably how little kids would use it. They would know that I need to tell the AI to do it better, right? Or consider cross-references or consider this. The kids may not know that. So they're just going to take a picture, upload it, and they're going to get the exact same response. So let's listen to this guy and see what he has to say.
Thought you needed the answer and just gave it to you. And the most important part, you also didn't kind of double check what those answers were before copying it over, right?
Yeah.
So that's also a very important step because AI is not perfect. It will definitely hallucinate a little bit. So it is a bit of our job to make sure that whatever it gives, we kind of double check or try to get it to explain how it got the answer so we know that it really can be the correct answer.
How would I go about that then?
So one thing we can do is instead of trying to scan all these things, for example, this math question is just English with the numbers, right? We can just type this. So we just make sure that we got all the numbers correct and we don't introduce any mistakes from the start. Then we need to be as explicit with the instructions as possible. Telling the AI what you need it to do and giving it as much information as possible.
Sounds real familiar.
There are different frameworks that all fall under something we call prompt engineering. So for math questions, I adopted the CRAFT framework. It stands for context, response, action, format.
So now he's teaching her exactly what I said, like how to prompt the AI. Now, when you start getting into this is where you really start extracting the full power of using AI. And then you're like, well, yeah, maybe we should be putting some guardrails.
And target. If we were to look at Wolfram, so it's setting the context for the question. I actually mentioned that, this is a question from an O-level paper. The response I'm also asking for is to give me the workings step by step and not skipping anything. The format, I want it to number each step so I can see the logical flow. And crafting into a spoiler is just to hide the answers for me so I can try and figure it out first before I see the final answer. The target, I define myself as a 16-year-old student. Because if you're explaining this to a college level student, you could use even bigger words. If you're explaining this to a primary level student, right, then you'd have to use simpler terms. And of course, the action is to solve it and then give me how those different values would look like. And then I can go through and then finally see whether or not these final answers are correct. Right, but I see here in your paper, those answers are wrong.
Those are my wrong answers.
So if we try this exact same prompt to ChatGPT, so
9, 21, 27, 33.
Yeah, this is very important because this is how you do cross-checking.
Can we do a diagram? Try out this question with the...
So you see now the AI is getting the answers correctly. Prompting, man.
graph.
We're attempting to use craft again. I'm asking it to check with me whether it understands the diagram before we proceed with actually answering the question. Particularly for this question, because you didn't have a working, we are reminding the AI to do that as well. Right? So let's give it a go. Now we're making sure we understand that the connection is correct.
We actually have to do the work.
Yeah, right?
To read the graph myself. Okay.
So it's attempting to think that maybe we'll need to calculate the area under the graph. So then the final answer would be A to B is 4.94 meters, but the answer key is saying that the distance over A to B
is 8.0 meters.
Is there a reason why your answer is different? So it explains why the previous answer was incorrect, and then here's the final working. So we did read a little bit off. Yeah. It also has challenged us on whether we read our own graph correctly.
Yeah, which we did not. So it's on us. Okay.
Yeah.
As a student, you do learn you're part of the process.
Yes.
You're not just relying on the AI chatbot. All right, let's move on to English. Same framework as the one we used for math?
No, not really. So instead I use Trace. It's a different framework.
Why do we have to use Trace for English and Craft for math?
It's not that you'd have to use any of the frameworks specifically for...
It's just that it helps focus the AI or the system to think in such a manner that it will most likely derive the correct result. So you don't need to follow these standards, but by following them, you're most likely going to get the outcome you desire.
A subject, it's more of like understanding which framework would make sense for the subject. Trace, it adds in that diversity and inclusion part, the bias checking that we need. You can't really be very biased in math, right? Math is going to still give you an absolute answer at the end of the day. If we're choosing something argumentative where you have to actually start debating about certain points.
Yeah.
So we're trying to make sure that we don't have any biases by accident.
How would we engineer a prompt for an argumentative question?
Social media does more harm than good, right? Do we agree? We have a task. The next part will then be the request. After that will be the constraints. So from here, we also need to give ChatGPT some examples, maybe your personal opinions. Do you or do you not agree? Can you explain a little bit why?
I think this actually is work.
So you see, right? You actually are doing a bit of the work. You are doing a bit of the thinking.
Right.
And of course, checking if there are any gender cultural biases before final output.
Okay. Just reading it, it feels like it hit every point. And I don't even have to get it to write the full essay. I can just stop here and then write it based off the evidence.
Ultimately, the students need to be motivated to want to even use AI in this manner, because at the end of the day, the AI can only help the student as much as the student wants to help themselves. Yeah.
We can teach students how they can unlock AI's.
So that's only true up to a certain level of development of AI. So today, okay, that's true. But as AI gets exponentially better, it's going to be far easier to utilize it in these systems that require less prompting. So what systems are doing right now is they're refining AI systems so that you don't really need to communicate with it in such a manner and make it even easier to use than having to follow those standards, right? So his point stands, but only for now.
Full potential to enhance their learning journey. But we also need to steer them away from taking the easy way out. Previously, Jonathan told me that AI has taken away the motivation for learning. He's showing me how we can use AI to bring it back.
How do we make sure that instead of just copying and pasting and not learning anything from their work, the students are actually using skills so that they do learn something from it?
One of the difficulties with learning is actually having that motivation. If we really want to spark that genuine interest, we need them to see the connections on things that they care about. ChatGPT and the other AI tools. You don't always have to use it as an answer generator. It's a way for us to discover connections that previously we found it hard to discover. I remember when as a student, right, I don't understand the point of learning simultaneous equations. One thing we can do is to say something like this in our prompts, as a student. I don't see the point of learning simultaneous equations. I love anime, and I don't see how these two are remotely relevant. Show me why I should care and be interested. And just like this, the AI can actually help me discover connections that I may not have seen.
It's trying to make it more relatable.
More relatable, yeah. One thing that I know many teachers are doing here in Singapore is to get students excited by generating images, make their words come alive. For example, the writing class. We want the students to use rich descriptions to learn more words. We can do something like create an image about a cat. A prompt like this isn't going to get us very far, right? So we can encourage the students, don't just say create an image about a cat. What is the cat doing? What's happening in the background? The fluffy ginger cat taking a stroll in the streets of Singapore.
Okay. Hello, so cute. Okay, I can see why that is quite exciting.
Yeah, so that reaction that you have, right? Students also will have this, and it excites them to want to write more.
Add more to the scene.
That's
Fluffy
right.
Ginger cat taking a stroll in the streets of Singapore, looking for food and a home.
And a home. Aww. Okay.
All right, and then. Okay, not exactly what I had in mind.
But it is funny.
This is good. This is a good learning opportunity.
Okay.
Notice how a prompt earlier, there's ambiguity. Looking for food and a home. AI clearly didn't understand the home thing, right? We didn't give our context clearly. So what more can I say? We get them to articulate in these steps, right? Then they become more reflective and intentional about what elements go into here, and not just leaving to random chance.
Does it help them retain the information, what they see, what they write?
Yes, because then they're actually thinking about what goes into it, and that really enriches their communicative abilities, their language abilities. We don't have to restrict ourselves to only ChatGPT.
Yeah.
There are other tools like Google Notebook LM. As an educator, you can prepare resource materials that your students can upload.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a sample organic chemistry. Create a new notebook, upload sources based on the materials that you have.
You can make a study guide, you can do an FAQ.
Yes, that's right. See over here, deep dive conversation.
Oh yes?
Yeah, you can generate a podcast with two AI voices talking to each other.
Like an actual podcast.
Yeah, you can use a customized feature to tell the AI to focus on specific sections.
It's ready. 35 minutes.
You send over that PDF, Units of an Introduction
AI
to
voices.
Organic Chemistry Student Version .pdf.
Right.
And our mission today, basically, is to pull out the really important stuff, the interesting nuggets from this intro, make it understandable, maybe even exciting.
It sounds so real.
Yeah.
It's so conversational.
Yes.
Even down to the and the okay and the like chiming in together.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Again, we must always remember AI may not be accurate. So one thing we can do to challenge the learners is don't just accept that this is 100%, but question. Is there anything wrong with the answers? Compare the reading and this. This gets them thinking. It can even be an activity where we tell the students, make songs about what we learn as summaries.
So not just podcasts, but music as well.
Yeah.
How about like something historical?
Okay.
Yeah.
Make a song about 3 key takeaways about Singapore's history, hip-hop.
Hip-hop, yeah.
And then recreate.
Lion City Chronicles.
Here's the lyrics.
Oh. From the jungle to the hustle.
Again, wearing the teacher hat, we can tell the students any issues with the lyrics. How can we make this song more accurate, more precise, yet poetic?
You're right. Even as I was reading through the lyrics, when they said Raffles saw the land and laid the design, like how much was him and how much were, other people. If I were a student and I had these tools, I would want to learn every day. I think even if it's not during school time, I would want to just play around with these tools and see what else I can come up with. It's very exciting to me.
But the teacher is the one that needs to drive it. If the teacher is very passionate about using AI for learning, that passion actually spreads. And as they're learning the subject, they're also learning new AI skills, new AI competencies.
It's clear that AI is here to stay. But instead of using AI to replace our brains, we can turn it into a productive study buddy with the following steps. 1. Don't just blindly snap, upload, copy and paste. You don't want to end up being fed falsehoods. 2. Give yourself space to think for yourself and evaluate the responses that AI generates. Most importantly, make sure to check in with your teachers about how you should be using AI for each homework assignment. That way, you'll be growing with AI instead of being left behind by machines.
Super interesting. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was absolutely amazing. You know what? Let me end it off by putting this up here. Now, yeah, as I said, this is really an important topic to discuss. How to, as parents, first of all, can you even determine that the school system that your child is in is using AI correctly? Like you now as a parent, you have to make sure that you understand how AI affects your child so that you can now say, okay, this school is not using AI correctly and it's going to be detrimental to my child's health or my child's academic learning skills. So now you're able to make a better decision, right? Or do you want no AI usage? And if you want no AI usage, well, you're going to have to know how to educate your child in that space, right? So I think maybe one thing I will do at some point is look into maybe a video on what does life look like when you're trying to educate your child in a world of AI but using no AI. That will require some research, but I'm willing to put the time into understanding what that looks like, right? So anyway, this is just the first video of many reactions to come. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Let's stay educated. By the way, check out this video here. Gabrielle Walker from House of Refuge. She's an absolute legend. This is my favorite praise and worship song right now. So much love, guys.